Hello and welcome to Adventures in One Love. I'm Lydia and we want to thank you for joining us today. I am excited to have this great conversation with my dear friend Will. He's an author, a creative entrepreneur, lots of things that we're going to dig into.
Lots of hats.
Yes, Will, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Well, and today is a really special day. Today is the day that you, the book
launches. Yes.
It's launched, it's out, very exciting stuff. The book.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll talk about why I wrote the book, and then I can go into the details about the process of the book, because it was really fun. I think I found my niche in my creativity, something that I can do outside of which is still ministry, but outside of my ministry full-time job. And I really enjoyed the process so much. So I wrote the book because about 1.5 years ago, my family experienced a loss. We lost my youngest brother to an overdose. And I found myself a couple of weeks after that in a very difficult place, not only because I had just experienced loss, which probably was, he was the first loss that we'd have experienced in our family and in our immediate family, but he also had kids. And then obviously there's questions, right? When you experience loss, you think where is my brother? How is he doing? My brother had actually been baptized a couple of months prior to his passing and had gotten saved a couple of years before his passing. So he wasn't really in his addiction fully. He was struggling like I am struggling with my daily struggle in life. You know what I'm saying? He was a Christian who is struggling in navigating his addiction and how to stay away from that. So he did have an awesome relationship with the Lord and a dependency with him. So after having all those questions, I dismissed that my nephews would have questions. I didn't understand, So there was this time where I was in the house. We were all there. Family had arrived from Puerto Rico. And my nephew, I had already started, processing and crying it out and stuff like that. And my nephew stopped me and he said, Uncle Will, why are you crying? And I look at him, it's like, I'm sad, I'm trying to speak to a 5-year-old to tell him, who's in that, hey, your father's no longer going to be with us and he's my brother, and I'm trying to tell him that. And at that very moment, he's like, you shouldn't cry. The Lord spoke to me, the Lord spoke to me and he said, he's not sick anymore. And he has a brand new body and he's good in heaven. As a Christian, to hear that your brother is in heaven, fully loved and complete and clean by someone who you don't think the Lord would speak to. That was my experience. I didn't think that the Lord was going to speak to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And
it would minister to you.
Yes, because as a Christian, I'm questioning, is he really in heaven? Is he really saved? Was he really saved? Is he really in heaven? That was a big question. This is not a question no one in the family was struggling to find answers to. And to have a 5-year-old minister to you, I was wrecked after having heard all of this.
Wow.
So I hear all of this, and I realized that I needed to come up with a way of helping my nephews process. My brother left behind 2 sons and a daughter around the same age. So I needed to be able to, at some point, help them remember who my brother was and his legacy, and also help them process the feelings that come from loss and from grieving. And obviously, the only tools I had were my creativity. So one day after The Voice, I had heard the Lord say, sit, open up your computer. I'm going to give you a book. And precisely that. I sat down I started writing the book, and within a matter of a few hours, I had written the story and had started a 6-month journey in writing the book. So I wrote the book, and it's probably been the most exciting thing I've ever done my whole entire life. Not only because I'm able to use it now to minister to my nephews and nieces who the book was intended for, but it helped me process my own grief and have an outlet to process grief while missing my brother. So I wrote the book. It's right here.
Yes,
I brought the book.
Yes.
So yeah, the book's called Dad Rides in Heaven Now. And the reason why it's called Dad Rides in Heaven Now was because my brother was a BMX fanatic. He was a BMX professional. So through our whole entire life, he was stuck to a bike. And I remember going with him to competitions and broken bones. And I remember just like, if I remember my brother, I remember him on a bike.
Wow.
So I wanted the book to obviously shed light to the sport. I wanted for it to honor who my brother was. I wanted it to speak to my nephews and to other kids around the world who may experience this, specifically now during COVID times where people have lost so many people in their lives, so many loved ones. I wanted to honor my family. We love elephants, so I wanted to honor my family, and I wanted to honor God first and foremost. I wanted this to be a Christian book that had all of that awesomeness in my life and all of that sad experience and dark experience and all the happy experiences as well. So in the book, I share that whole entire experience of having my nephew ask the question, all the way to speaking life into my nephew and saying he's going to grow up to be an amazing man of God, and one day he's going to be able to meet his dad back again in heaven. So the book goes through the entire story and through that entire prayer pretty much for my nephew. And it honors my brother. You'll get to see him as an elephant, and you'll get to see him in his bike doing flips and all that stuff.
I love it. I love it.
We were able to release the book as a soft opening March 1st. And we were number 6 this week on the top new releases on Amazon. So it's been really cool and really awesome.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, it's been really cool. And we've been getting feedback from the book.
What has that been like?
It's been crazy. I've had reviews of adults saying I've had to stop in the middle of the story, process my own grief, and then read the story again to my kid so that I could help them understand grief. So it's not only helping adults process grief in a childlike way, it's also providing an opportunity for families to have these very hard and dark conversations.
Yeah.
My very own experience, the first person I read the book to was to my nephew, and he hugged me, and after he hugged me, we both started crying. And then after that, he literally confessed in saying that he has been feeling so sad and so dark inside because of this loss. And for me to be able to bring the book so that it becomes an opportunity and a door for me to have that conversation is enough. I could have 0 sales and 0 exposure and anything, but the fact that I was able to have that conversation so that he would be able to open up and say, I feel this way.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure that when you feel some sort of emotion and you share it and it's not bottled up inside of you, you feel a little bit lighter.
Come on.
I'm an Enneagram 4. I'm a creative. Everything's about emotions with me. The moment I share something, it's not inside of me and in my mind anymore, and I'm able to process it and heal from it. And he was able to do that. And if that can happen to people and kids around the world, then God has done something.
Amen. So we thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things, because we want to keep creating content that has these kind of conversations, the important conversations that need to be had in the body. Because it starts with one and it starts with you.